Hello everyone and welcome back to Pacific Rim Theory. Today I want to start a new form of content on the channel that centers around Pacific Rim theories, much to what the channel's name indicates, and I think this is something that would be fun to do. So I ask you all to send me some of your own theories about the world and characters of Pacific Rim, all of which were very interesting and amazing, so thank you so much for sending in those. But I decided to focus on two of my favorite ones that interested me the most, and I hope you will like them as well. So without further ado, let's get into the video and let's get theorizing. Now this first theory was sent in by my fellow Pacific Rim content creator, Pacific Rim Central. Go follow his socials, I will link them below. He creates amazing content on the franchise and his memes and videos are really funny, so yeah, go check out his socials, I will link them below. But he believes that Trespasser, the very first kaiju that attacked Earth, is actually a category 4 and not a category 1 as the canon tells us. Which after much research, I believe is actually right. And I noticed that this is also a theory that's been brought up online a lot as well. So a lot of people have discussed this and thought about what Trespasser's category could be. So the Serizawa scale, I really hope I'm saying that right, which is a metric used in the world of Pacific Rim to characterize the kaiju, bases the threat of these creatures on their water displacement, ambient radiation levels, and toxic levels when they pass through the breach. Now I know that all sounds like a handful, so let me break it down. Water displacement is what happens when an object enters water. The object pushes out a volume of water that is equal to its own volume in order to make room for itself, and this is called displacement. The ambient radiation levels measures how much radiation is in the environment around us, and the toxicity levels is the measurement of how severe a chemical substance is and how dangerous it is to living organisms. So with that in mind, let's apply this to Trespasser and see what we get. So to calculate their water displacement, we have to calculate the density. And to do that, we follow this equation: mass divided by final water level minus initial water level. So if we know that Trespasser weighs 2,780 tons, then how do we calculate the water level? Well, we know that Trespasser approached San Francisco from the San Francisco Bay, which is apparently 113 meters deep, according to Wikipedia. But I couldn't find anything about how much the water level was, like in milliliters or liters, which apparently you need that kind of measurement for the equation. So this was a bit difficult to work out, to be honest, but for now, let's leave that to the side and figure out the rest. Now, in regards to Trespasser's toxicity level, we all know that a kaiju's blood is highly toxic. Known as kaiju blue, it can contaminate environments and even become a vapor when a kaiju's corpse decomposes. So with this in mind, Trespasser and by default every other kaiju should have a high toxicity level, right? Well, apparently not, because Scunna is stated to have a low level of toxicity and Slanton has a high level. But how is this categorized? Because Scunna has no indication of any toxic trait outside of his blood, which makes sense when he's considered to have a low level, but neither does Slanton, unless the bioluminescent glow from inside their mouth indicates that they do, but Trespasser has that as well, and they're considered to have a medium level, not a high level like Slanton does. Do you get where I'm going with this? In my opinion, this metric is so convoluted that it cannot be taken seriously as a measuring system to categorize kaiju. Even the ambient radiation levels can't be calculated, because how does one get that information? Plus, there's never been any evidence that supports that the kaiju are radioactive, so it's impossible to work out such a thing. Or maybe it's because I don't understand any of this. I don't know. I'll leave that to you all to decide, but what is interesting about all this is that Travis Beacham, the writer of Pacific Rim, has stated that the PBTC couldn't properly categorize Trespasser because the scaling system was created after San Francisco. Plus, the nukes that killed the kaiju destroyed their remains, so already that implies that Trespasser's categorization as a category 1 has to be a mistake. Furthermore, there are no other category 1 kaiju, so even that has to say something. And if we look at Trespasser's metrics compared to another category 4 like Otaichi, he weighs more than her. But if we put mass aside for a moment, think about how long it took to kill Trespasser. It took the military 6 days. Though granted this was before the Jaeger program, so it could have taken less than that, but if anything, it speaks to the kaiju's defense and the thickness of its skin, which surely makes it even more of a threat than a category 2 like Onibaba, right? Who also has thick skin. So then that leaves the question, what makes a kaiju qualify as category 4? And folks, I don't really know. I really don't. There's so many conflicting factors, so many contradictions that I'm going to have to accept defeat on this topic and hand it over to you all. So if you have any thoughts or evidence that could support this theory of Trespasser being a category 4, or even a different category, please share it in the comments, because I'm not gonna lie to you, all this research, trying to understand this system, and yeah, it's kind of drained my brain of any thoughts, so help me out on this. What do you think about this theory? And if you have any evidence, again, let's talk about it in the comments. This next theory was submitted by Stubbly Hat, so thank you so much for sending this in. And their theory is that the realm that the precursors come from is actually a hidden planet in the solar system, which is honestly such an interesting thought and one that I really enjoyed doing research on. So before we dive deeper into this theory, we have to understand where the precursors come from, which is in a dimension known as the Antiverse. So already I think this theory is a bit on shaky ground, because the name Antiverse implies that they might not actually live on a planet, but in their own universe. But for the sake of the video, let's assume that it is a planet. In the novelization, the Antiverse is described as having a red sky, a lake of bioslurry, which is a gaseous renewable energy source, a city made from bone and flesh, and the most important aspect, which is that it is dying. So if we put these all together, does this sound like a planet that we know? Well, it's definitely not Mars, even with the red sky description, but maybe it's another planet in our universe, one in the farthest reaches of our solar system. Introducing Sedna, a dwarf planet that's just beyond the orbit of Neptune. Observations from large telescopes indicate that it may be one of the reddest objects known in the solar system, nearly as red as Mars. Plus, organic compounds known as tholins are said to be evident on the planet, which would explain its reddish color. However, other than that, there were no other similarities that Sedna shares with the Antiverse, so we gotta rule that one out. However, there is a theory that in our solar system of 8 planets, there is in fact another planet, a hidden planet called Planet 9. This planet has never been sighted and is actually a hypothetical planet that is located again beyond Neptune, and is an exoplanet with a mass higher than Earth, which is known as a super Earth. However, not much is known about this planet's appearance, which makes sense since it only exists hypothetically. So with the information I've found, I can't find any grounds for the possibility of the Antiverse really existing in our solar system. But if, like Stubbly Hat said, it's a hidden planet, then it could be out there. We just don't know about it. So there's a little food for thought for you all to think about. And there you have it. 2 great theories to start up this new series on the channel. I know this is a little short video. I tried my best to get as much research as I can, but I want to thank Pacific Rim Central and Stubbly Hat for submitting these. They were really great to dive into, and I would love to hear all your thoughts on them. But again, thank you so much for everyone's support on the channel. Love making these videos and love taking the time to comment and respond to all of you. So yeah, I will see you in the next video, and I hope to continue these theories. So yeah, I will see you in the next video.